Good morning, Santa Clarita. Good morning. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I am Matt Watson, and this is SCVi, and I lead Schools Eye on the Valley. That's right, 98.1 FM or 1220 AM. You can also find us on the KHTS Facebook feed if you want to look in the studio, see how the sausage is made. You can also stream us on the KHTS website, hometownstation.com, or check us out on the KHTS app on your smart device. Good morning and happy Friday. So good to see you. We're glad you're here. Our show, Eye on the Valley, is brought to you by SCVi and I Lead Schools. We are a network of charter schools with campuses in Castaic, Agua Dulce, Lancaster. We've got a fully accredited online school, an incredible home study program. You know, I get calls just about every day about our home study program, I Lead Exploration. You know, lots of families are starting to discover the educational options they have. And so I Lead Exploration is just blowing up. You can get more information about any of our schools, classroom-based, virtual, hybrid, by going to our website at ileadschools.org. That's ileadschools.org. And then you can click on the different logos for our different schools, take a tour, enroll, get more information. Again, that's ileadschools.org. So yeah, we've got our eye on education here in Santa Clarita and across the nation. But like our show says, we keep our eye on the Valley as well, bringing you everything that you need to know about what's what here in the Valley. And we try to do it all while bringing a smile to your face. Because you know what? If you're not gigging, if you're not smiling, if you're not giggling a little, then you're doing it wrong. You know, you got to bring a chuckle into everything that you're doing. So yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Here we go, y'all. I love it. How you been? It's good to have you. I tell you, I feel great. We are stepping into my most favorite part of the year now. You know, there's just something about this time of year. We start to dress up our homes a little bit. You know, I got the new Starbucks holiday cup right here with me. You know, we turn our hearts toward each other a little bit more, it seems, this time of year, and the country starts to focus on gratitude, and I just love that. You know, there's something about gratitude. You know, just it does more than just warm your soul, although it does do that. It brightens your outlook, and you know, there's actually science to it too. It's true. They've done studies. Actually, over and over again, studies have shown that people who live a life of gratitude, people who are more grateful, tend to not just feel happier, but have fewer common health complaints like headaches, digestion issues, respiratory infections, runny noses, dizziness, sleep problems. You know, I try to keep a grateful heart, and I do sleep like a baby. And then gratitude also helps to build stronger connections with others. So you know, express a little bit more gratitude. It'll make you happier, healthier, and a lot more fun to bring around. So yeah, hashtag that, attitude of gratitude. And you know who I'm grateful for today? I am so grateful for producer Sarah, because she has put together an absolutely amazing show today on Eye on the Valley. In just a minute, check this out. In just a minute, we're going to talk to Kris Nilsen. She is the college and career counselor at SCVi Charter School right here in Santa Clarita. Kris works with every single high schooler at SCVi, every single one of them, to support them on their way to college and career and whatever their unique journey is. You talk about personalized service, and Kris does a great job of it. So every single high schooler, Matt? Yeah, definitely. You know, it is possible when you've got just 200 students, 9th through 12th grade. You talk about personalized service. So anyways, we'll let Kris tell you all about it in just a minute. And then when we're done with Kris, you're going to meet Nancy Lantis, although you have probably met her in one form or another. I bet at one time or another you've seen Nancy on your television. Nancy is an actress, producer, director. She's incredibly talented. And then in hour number 2, we have got the top law enforcement official here in the Valley. That's right. I'm talking about LA County Sheriff Captain Justin Diaz. We're honored to have him today as well. And as always, we've got Big T coming at you at the end of the show with good times and trivia. You're not going to want to miss a minute today. So let's go ahead and do it. My first guest today, as I mentioned, is the college and career counselor with SCVi Charter School. remember, friends, the single most common question I get about charter schools is how much do they cost? And the answer is easy. Nothing. Charter schools are public schools paid for the same way the district schools are through your tax dollars. So anyways, I digress. Kris grew up in the San Fernando Valley and graduated from Cal State Northridge with a BA in sociology, criminology, and corrections. So it's a natural she'd go into education, right? Ah, come on, don't do that to our kids, Matt. She later went back to CSUN and got her master's in education and her administrative credential. She also attended Cal State Long Beach, where she graduated with an MA in social work and a PPS credential. And she has her college counseling certificate from UCLA. Gosh, she truly is a lifelong learner. Kris worked for the Department of Child and Family Services as a family reunification caseworker for a couple of years before she worked at Pinecrest Schools for 18 years before they closed their doors in 2016. Remember Pinecrest? Ah, such wonderful schools. Anyways, Kris moved on from Pinecrest, came to us over at SCVi. She now lives in Simi Valley with her husband of more than 25 years and their 2 daughters. She has found her passion as a high school counselor and enjoys visiting college campuses across the United States. She's now in her, I believe this is her 8th year, Kris can correct me on that, as the college and career counselor at SCVi. Kris, good morning. Welcome back to Eye on the Valley.
Good morning, Matt. Thank you so much for having me.
Is that right, Kris? You're in your 8th year at SCVi now?
Yes, I can't believe it. I started in 2016 and going on. This is year number 8.
This is year number 8. Gosh, how the time flies. And what I love most is you haven't settled into routine. You're still just as passionate and excited about guiding your high schoolers onto college and career as you were day one. So talk to us about the work that you do with your learners at SCVi. How early do you start talking to them about college?
For me, it starts in 9th grade. I think we talk about college, as educators, even starting in elementary,
Right.
The idea of what options are there as you get older. Kids look at careers and Halloween. You see all those wonderful, costumes. They want to be a police officer and a fireman. Coming into high school, it's a pretty big transition from middle school to high school. So in the first semester of 9th grade, it's primarily acclimating to high school,
Right.
going to different classes, having a lot of different facilitators. Pretty much, though, we have monthly grade level meetings, and I actually start talking to them about the idea of college and more or less kind of what money is out there and what easy things kids can start doing coming into high school in order to prepare for college.
So when does it start to get really intense? You talked about ramping it up a little bit. When do kids really start to feel the pressure, as it were, or really start diving deep into what college they want to go to and how to get there?
Yeah, I would say very few kids kind of know coming in. And sometimes, I let them know that there might be a lot of changes in those 4 years.
Right.
Junior year is really that time that kids really start thinking about it. They're about a year, 2 years away from graduating. And I meet with each learner individually. So we talk about colleges, we talk about career, we talk about plans for after high school, and I sit with them individually and we create college lists. I'm there for the college application process. So I'd say really kind of getting deep dive about junior year.
Okay, and then so they really dive deep junior year, and then for your seniors, this is kind of crunch time right now. Isn't this application season?
Yes, it really is. Especially November, we have our UC and Cal State colleges in California that the deadlines are November 30th, so that's coming up.
Oh, yeah.
I have a few seniors applying early action, which is a November 1st deadline or November 15th.
Okay.
So while they're in senior year and thinking about graduating, which can be a scary thing, especially for some of our kids, SCVi is K through 12 or TK through 12.
Yeah.
And some kids have been here that length of time, and so stepping out of SCVi is such a big, huge life change. And so they're kind of dealing with that too, being a senior and being their last year. So it's all of those emotions and then the dedication and persistence they have to have in order to fill out these applications and get everything organized in order to apply.
Yeah, college really is a big step. A lot of those kids will will be leaving home for the first time, and whether it's moving across the country or maybe just driving across town every day, it still is a big step. And you're right, it is a big step for a lot of our kids who have attended our school now since they were, well, gosh, babies, Kris, 4.5, 5 years old. But what a remarkable experience. I always love kind of toward the end of the year as we get close to graduation, talking to a few of those seniors who have been with us since the very beginning. And they talk about that sense of family, of growing up with a school, of bonding when they were in elementary school with some of the middle and high schoolers and being mentored by them, and then turning around and paying it back to the younger ones as they grow. I think you remember last year we talked with a young lady who was planting kind of a garden and then teaching the younger learners how to keep it going after she graduated. And it's just a beautiful experience to be able to go one school TK through 12th grade. It's an amazing opportunity. Anyways, let's get back to college and career and the way you're helping prepare your kids. So you mentioned you have some of your kids that have applied early action just a couple days ago. They got that application in November 1st. You've got another deadline coming up the 15th, another one coming up the 30th. It's crunch time for seniors. So what does your job look like? How do you help your learners with their applications? Is it just keeping them aware of deadlines and asking them those questions about, have you done this? Have you done that? Or are you right there in the trenches with them as they get their stuff submitted?
Yeah, I prefer to be kind of in the trenches. The biggest message I give the kids is their responsibility is to turn in those applications in on time. I do everything else in regards to sending documents and recommendation letters. I write recommendation letters for each learner where the colleges will accept them. Our Cal States and UCs don't take recommendations, at the first application period. So I'm kind of in the trenches. Every one of them have my cell phone, and if they need to reach out to me for last minute things. Some of them need that help writing a personal statement essay, which is a requirement for a lot of the private colleges. We don't have the FAFSA, which maybe we'll talk about in a little bit. That's not opening until December, but there's a CSS profile, which is something that parents fill out that goes into deep, financial to see what need the kids have. So it's providing information for a lot of our families and parents that either don't know the college application process or it's been quite a while, like myself, since we have applied to colleges. And it's also providing that individual support. So I'm lucky. We have a lot of awesome college and career counselors in SCVi, and I lead, and I'm lucky that I'm on site, even though it can be a pretty busy day when kids can come into my office at any time and need some help or
Sure.
need some sort of counseling when it comes to colleges. But I find it so rewarding and beneficial that I can be here for them while they're in the moment at school, and I can help them from filling out applications to helping them get recommendations. Whatever the kids need, I am here to help.
Yeah, it's got to be really rewarding. I was going to say, just to be able to be such a pivotal part of a young person's life like that, helping them launch into college career, that next stage of life. It's got to be very rewarding, especially as you get to kind of hand them off to adulthood. Kris, you mentioned FAFSA and how it has been moved back to December this year. Can you explain really quickly what FAFSA is for our families that don't know, and then how that might affect which college some of our seniors apply to?
Sure. So FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And every year it opens October 1st. And I encourage, in fact, try to require all of our seniors and families to apply for the FAFSA. It's free, and basically it qualifies kids to receive federal money to go to college. If they add a California college to that application, they also qualify for the Cal Grant, which is California state money.
Okay.
I know a lot of families out there think, well, I make too much money, we're not going to need that kind of help, but billions of dollars goes unused towards college because families actually think that they will not get anything from the FAFSA. In regards to scholarships, even loans, I personally have a loan myself for my daughter who's a senior at UC Santa Cruz, and so filling out that FAFSA opens up a lot of those doors. And this year they're revamping, which is actually a really good thing. There are going to be less questions, a lot easier to fill out, a lot easier to apply. And so they pushed it back till December, which does push back, some of these kids applying early action, they're not going to know if they're getting federal money as they would normally about by now if they had filled out the FAFSA in October. So it's pushing that back a little bit. I believe it's only for this year. It will go back to October 1st the following year. But what the FAFSA does is it takes tax information 2 years prior, so prior year, and basically it looks at what need is out there for kids so that they be able to go to college.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. That's one of the things I think that you really stress with your families is how much money for college is actually out there. Chris, I was one of those parents. I'm a teacher, so I'm not wealthy, but I've been a teacher for almost 30 years now, and I do okay. I didn't figure that my family would qualify for much financial aid. But based on our FAFSA, my son actually did receive a couple of awards heading into college, and then that being said, there's the colleges themselves, whether they're public or private, offer quite a few discounts. What blew my mind, Chris, and this is kind of I'm going to give away one of your tricks. I didn't realize going to a private out of state college, because one of the colleges my son got into was a small liberal arts private college in Virginia. I thought, oh my gosh, the tuition there is just going to be unreachable. That was actually cheaper for him to attend than a state college here in California. That blew my mind.
Oh, it completely. And I tell my kids all the time here at SCVi that I'm paying actually, what is it, like $35,000 to go to a UC school in California, and including room and board and everything that goes into that. And that's a lot of money to be staying in California local. So the idea that there are colleges out there that a lot of kids just don't know about. There's over 4,000, so it's hard to know. We hear mostly about the ones that are around the bend, UCLA, CSUN, those kind of things. But those, you're exactly right. They give more money from private colleges, so the sticker price looks a lot higher, but nobody pays sticker price, right? When you buy a car, when you try to buy a home. Same thing with college. It's seeing which college fits you best,
Right.
and who can give you the most money.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I had never heard of Thomas Jefferson in Virginia, but they've got an amazing design program that my son got into. And like I said, it was an amazing opportunity for him. So let's talk about some of the colleges. Your kids are submitting their applications now. Where are they applying to? Where are your seniors looking at going next year?
We have an array of colleges, which is very exciting. Let's see, we've got Chapman, which is in California. We have USC, University of Southern California, San Diego State. One of my favorites, Worcester Polytechnic Institute, which is in Massachusetts, in Worcester. I actually have kids applying to Caltech, MIT, which are pretty high-end engineering schools. We've got Hawaii Pacific. We have Midland University and University of Evansville. So you're talking about colleges that are not as well known by those of us on the West Coast. So it's a great array of colleges, and I love that kids are kind of branching out to see what's out of the state of California. I know we have the best weather. We do have the best situation in California, but to be able to go somewhere else for 4 years and have that adventure, you don't have to stay. Going back east and being in the cold weather is really tough for our kids here in California. I agree. I'm born and raised here. Yep. But to have to meet different people and to live in an area that you may never have gone to is so exciting. So I'm very impressed that this year our kids are really applying to a lot of colleges outside of California. I even have one senior who is applying internationally. Her sister graduated last year and is going to a school, EDEC, in Paris, in France. And so she may join her sister there, but she's also looking at a lot of exciting places. So it's really a great time of year. It's really fun to see what's out there and to see where these kids are applying to.
All right, je vous en prie. Well, so that's amazing. Yeah, you're right. Southern California is beautiful, but the world is a gorgeous place. Get out and see it, and you can always come back to Southern California after you graduate. But head on out to Vista and enjoy the fall colors.
Yes.
Kris, one of the things that I was really excited about, because I'm not a huge standardized testing fan. I think that is probably one of the least effective ways to measure educational and academic ability of a young person. And I was really excited during the pandemic when our colleges stopped requiring the SAT and the ACT. But Are they starting that back up? Is that something that they listened to Eye on the Valley and they permanently suspended the SAT and ACT, or is that now required like it was pre-pandemic?
It's definitely not required pre-pandemic, but there's a few colleges that have gone kind of back to that, really kind of more selective. I agree with you, Matt. I am not a fan of the SATs, and I took them over 30 years ago and did terrible. So I do make our kids feel better when I tell them the score that I received. Because yes, what they have found, studies have shown that it does not predict success in college. And obviously that was the case for myself, since I am a lifelong learner and have been back a couple of times. My score would never have predicted that. But there are some scholarships out there, and there are some kids that do want to take the SAT, but most of the colleges remain test optional. Even some of the higher end ones are Ivy League schools, University of Chicago, Stanford. Some of them are test optional, which is if you do really well and take the SAT and really like your score, you could submit that. But you're not penalized if you don't submit a score. And sometimes, depending on the college and the kid that's applying, if you give them more things to judge you on, they're going to utilize every part of that. So if you don't submit a score, then it's not really going to be part of that evaluation. I do give the PSAT and the SAT here at SCVi to our SCVi learners, because I want to provide a comfortable environment. The proctor is myself and someone that they know and that they trust. But this year, I actually had one senior take the SAT. The others were, I don't want to take that. I don't need to take it from the schools I'm going to, especially if they're art schools and music schools, very different. That's more about portfolios and auditions for theater. So it really is, I think, on the downtick. I'm hoping they're not going to find some other, kind of standardized test that they're going to use. And I'm hearing that most of the colleges are very holistic with their admissions and looking at a lot of different things. Our public schools are test blind, so UC and state, they're not allowed. They refuse to look at test scores, but they also don't have essays really, except for the UCs, and they don't have recommendations. So it's a little bit harder, when you're one of 120,000, for example, applying to UCLA, that it's really kind of based on that application mostly and kind of your transcript. So the smaller liberal arts colleges definitely get to know you as an applicant, and it's exciting, and it's a much better way of applying. And so I would say the SAT is kind of on the way out. So sorry, College Board, but not such a great thing anymore.
Yeah, pivot and adapt, and that's just like the rest of us have had to do. Kris, I understand that you've actually got some of our kids to serve, and so you've got to take off. But we want to thank you for your time this morning and your service to all of our students. You have a wonderful weekend, Kris.
Thank you, Matt. You too, and it's always a pleasure. I look forward to coming back again.
Have a great weekend. Want more information on how your child can attend SCVi and get some of this great service that Kris and the rest of the staff at our free public charter school is offering? Go ahead and visit us at ileadsantaclarita.org. That's ileadsantaclarita.org. Or you can call the main office at 661-705-4820. Again, ileadsantaclarita.org for SCVi, or 661-705-4820. When we get back, we will talk to actress, producer, director Nancy Lantis about Eclipse Theater LA. I'm Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVi and I Lead Schools Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I am Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVi and I Lead Schools Eye on the Valley. My next guest is joining us in studio today, Nancy Lantis. Nancy has been acting all her life, even before she knew that it was a thing that one could do for a living. After many high school productions where she grew up in Oregon and 2 years at the State University of New York, she and her husband moved to Florida, where she obtained the much sought-after and coveted SAG card. They moved back to the West Coast in 1994 because, as my previous guest was saying, not only is there no business like show business, there's no place like SoCal. No. And in 1996, they started the Eclipse Theater LA for more creative control in the theater world. They wanted to do their own meaningful productions. They turned one of Nancy's one-woman shows into a short film, which played at Slam Dance in 2004. Nancy's appeared in, well, Your bio says several, but it's a lot more than just several TV sitcoms and other shows, and continues to act in shows at the Canyon Theater Guild as well as other companies' shows at the Maine. But her heart and soul is with their own shows. Besides acting, Nancy loves writing, directing, and producing. Nancy, welcome to Eye on the Valley.
Hi, thank you.
So glad to have you. So for folks who aren't as familiar, tell us a little bit about Eclipse Theater LA.
Certainly, like I said, we started it years ago, kind of took a break, had kids, did that thing. And just in 2020, right before the world shut down, we incorporated as a nonprofit. We had a great board. And even though we couldn't be in the theater because theater shut down, we allowed
Sure.
ourselves, that gave us the time and to get our feet under us, as it were, as a new
Right.
nonprofit, and also to do a lot of online content,
Mhm.
which was a lot of fun and involved a lot of people. It's like, okay, great. So film yourself doing this. Here's a script and I'll put it up, that
Sure.
sort of thing, since we couldn't get together.
Yeah, I know. Well, gosh, we read about it all the time during the pandemic, how difficult the pandemic was on stage production and things like that. But I think a lot of local production houses, that especially here in Southern California, did an amazing job of pivoting. And I know, the Maine just multiplied its viewership hundreds of times
Oh, sure.
because they were forced to kind of step outside that box.
Yeah.
So Eclipse does a mix of original plays and also previously staged productions.
Mhm.
How do you decide what you're going to work on next? How do you come up with your schedule?
Well, Matt, I wish I could tell you that there's this huge committee and
It's an exact
we
science, right?
spread the runes out and we read tea leaves. No,
Oh,
pretty much
okay.
it's like, hey, you know what I want to do? It'd be fun. And so that's kind of what we do. My husband writes an original play every couple of years.
Mhm.
This one he allowed me to collaborate with him on a little bit. So he let me share writing credit with him because it's a very powerful, dramatic piece. I write, then it's like I get an idea. It's like, oh, you know what? I'd really love to see what it would look like if the Greek Trojan women were really more like the Housewives of Troy,
Right.
the
Yeah.
Housewives franchise. So I thought that would be funny. So I write that. Next year, we're doing Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes for
Okay.
October
Fun.
because I honestly was like, can you scare people in the theater? I wonder if you can make them laugh, you can make them cry, but can you really elicit that horror, that fear that you can get when watching like a scary movie?
Well, I
So
bet if you really honestly injured one of them, you could probably scare the rest of them. That might work.
interesting,
So yeah,
interesting.
consider
I'll have
it.
to think
Consider it.
about that.
Gosh, we should all have a job where the driving question of the day is, what would really be fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be awesome. So you've got this, gosh, just this huge variety of different shows, and if you're bored with the shows that are out there, you just write another one. So,
Right.
what, in your opinion, makes truly great theater?
Well, there's comedy, drama, all kinds like that. I think what makes any production great is the thoughtfulness that's put into it.
Mhm.
Make me think as an audience member that you put your heart and soul in this, that your blood and sweat is on that stage, that you didn't
Mm,
just slap something together and say, well, here you go, here's a show.
sure.
No, I want to see the details. I want to see that you put your thought into this, from the actors to the directors to the stage crew to the set. Everything went together to be this little package that makes me feel like I'm being swept away.
Yeah, I think that's probably true in any
hmm
industry.
hmm
We just talked to Kris Nilsen, the college and career counselor at SCVi, and
Oh,
and
I know.
that's what
I've
makes
got a senior. I was listening.
yeah, and that's what makes her so excellent at what she does is that passion and attention to detail, and it's got to be the same thing on stage. If you're passionate about something and you've got that attention to detail, it does make just for a great experience for
Yeah, there's
audiences.
there's never just good enough.
Right? Exactly. And speaking about so much better than good enough and truly engaging theater, I understand you've got a show that will be making its world premiere at the Maine soon. Can you tell us about the play that's going to be opening next weekend at the Maine?
Sure, you betcha.
All
It's
right.
called Beachcomber, and it takes place in a small little dive bar in Lincoln City, Oregon,
I
during
like it.
a sort of typical Pacific Northwest gale, like a storm coming on.
Sure.
And so there's these people that are kind of trapped in there for various reasons, but they can't really escape because of the rain.
I
And
see.
there is confrontation that happens. There's some humor. There's some secrets that come out, and there's some relationships that are healed.
Sounds really interesting. I do want to talk a little
Yeah.
bit more about that. Let's go ahead and take a quick break, and then
Sure.
we'll We'll dive into it. Actress, producer, director Nancy Lantis joins us this morning. More on that world premiere at the Maine next weekend and how you can attend Beachcomber. Stay tuned. I'm Matt Watson. You're listening to SCVi and iLead Schools' Eye on the Valley. We'll be right back on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, your host, and you are listening to SCVi and iLead Schools' Eye on the Valley. I'm joined this morning by actress, producer, and director Nancy Lantis, who will be premiering her original stage play Beachcomber at the Maine in Newhall next weekend. Nancy, you talked about how one of the keys of really keeping things fresh and fueling the passion that you and your team have for the theater is bringing in a different mix of genres and titles and settings and things like that. You talked about comedy and drama, and one of the things that helped me best understand theater was actually Mel Brooks's definition of comedy and tragedy. Have you ever heard Mel Brooks's definition of comedy and
No,
tragedy?
hit me.
Okay, so tragedy is when I get a paper cut on my finger, and comedy is when you fall in the sewer and die. So I thought that was a pretty succinct definition.
Oh, Mr. Brooks.
Yeah, right. He's a genius. Anyways, so you've got this world premiere play coming up, Beachcomber. It's starting next weekend at the Maine. So we're talking. Well, gosh, let me do the math. Probably November 10th.
10th, yep.
All right, fantastic. Premiering November 10th. So even though the play hasn't opened yet, it's been in production a long time. I see on the website you have Sonny and Theo's travel log.
Yeah.
Is that is that a prequel to Beachcomber?
Not necessarily. I mean, you have to get really creative when you don't have millions of dollars for an advertising budget like the Almondson or something like that.
Sure.
So you get really creative about what you can pull out of the production to excite people. And so one of the couples in the bar, Beachcomber, is Sonny and Theo, and they're a
Oh, I
retired couple
see.
RVing up the coast. And so we thought, well, why not put, travel logs so that people Sonny can be talking about the different places that they've been visiting and kind of bring in Theo's
Okay.
golf game and talk about the grandkids and give a little map. Abby Bowling, who is marketing, does a great job of putting together the pictures, along with Jenny Shadle, who writes the travel log blogs. They pick pictures and like a little red line where they're going up the coast, that sort of thing. So it really is just kind of like a character development and interest piece. Same way we've got on our YouTube channel mixology videos. So Cap, the bartender, is played by Mike Fleming, and he is mixing, like a minute of like different, like a tequila sunrise, Sex on the Beach, vodka gimlet. So he mixes those at the bar, and he says, "Hi, it's Cap from Beachcomber." And so it's just another way, like, what can we do? What can we do to sell? And it's not just another, "Hey, come see me in a show."
Kind of, wow, that really organic and embedded advertising for the show. I'm looking at the website now at Sonny and Theo's travel log,
Yeah.
and it's so when I first heard about it, I thought, okay, this is like a bridge stage production. No, it's not. It's their blog.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's this
Everything is
couple's
created. It's
blog
totally made
as
up.
they're traveling around, starting in Brookings, Oregon, and sharing their travel experiences with friends and family. And there's multiple posts here. Then they're on to Gold Beach, or this is amazing. I want to get caught up on Sonny and Theo's travel blogs. Well, I'll have to do that after the show. That is really cool. So we're talking about Beachcomber. It opens November 10th. So how can folks get tickets? How can they come and see the show?
Oh, it's really easy. You can go to beachcomber.eventbrite.com, and all the tickets and dates are listed there. We have kind of a special $10 ticket Black Friday sale because it's Black Friday and everybody wants deals on Black Friday.
There you go.
So, when you're done shopping and your feet are tired, come and get your $10 tickets to come see Beachcomber. But it runs through the 26th, so it's 3 weekends.
All right.
Kind of funky dates there because there's the tree lighting on the 18th on Newhall, and we were like, nobody is going to be able to park or come to the theater on the 18th, so we don't have any shows then. But but they can
That
check
makes
out
sense.
on beachcomber.eventbrite.com, and they'll have all the dates and times and things like that.
Okay, fantastic. And I'm sure there's information on the Maine's website as well.
On the Maine's website,
Okay.
we're Facebooking everywhere and everything, and Instagram.
Fantastic. So yeah, follow them on social media.
Yeah.
And Santa Clarita loves a good philanthropist, and y'all are helping make this community an even better place, make an awesome town even more awesome. I understand that a portion of the proceeds from this production are going to a really important group here in Santa Clarita. Can you tell us what organization you're supporting with your play Beachcomber, and what led you to choose them? Because there's so many worthy causes in town.
Oh, you betcha. It's Child and Family Center here in Santa Clarita. And we try to, with all of our productions, kind of pick a charity that mirrors what the show is about. It was Single Mothers Outreach for Housewives of Troy because it's about women surviving, tragedies and moving on and thriving and flourishing. For this one, Child and Family Center, their mission statement or their tagline is, healing families and that sort of thing. And that's kind of what, without giving anything too away about Beachcomber, it's about healing, and it is also involves a character who has struggled with alcohol and drug addiction and in recovery for that. And they also provide that. They do amazing things with children's mental health, adult mental health, families, coming back together and surviving whatever they've gone through. It's a great resource, actually, and you should check it out. Anybody who thinks they need help or has somebody who thinks they need help, check it out.
Gosh, I love that. So, benefiting a worthy cause and talking to some of those really important challenges that some of us face in life.
Yeah.
I love that. So, you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
I can imagine you've acted in and produced or written a lot of different shows over the years. So, kind of in your career, what have been some of your favorite plays, whether it's to act in or produce, or what
I
have you
think it's
enjoyed
always
most?
the ones that challenge you, that you don't, like with heels digging in. You're like, I'm not gonna do this, and then you finally do, and you realize, oh my God, that was amazing. I think the one woman shows I wrote for myself about a small town in Sweet Home, Oregon, because my husband and I are from Oregon,
Sure.
and playing all 5 characters living in a trailer park in a family, and aging from the 15-year-old girl up to the 70-year-old grandmother, and doing that on stage, and just finding that love in those characters of those people that you kind of grow up and around, or even writing and directing and acting in The Real Housewives of Troy, which was sort of on my back burner for years because I thought this would be so much fun, and working with the people that you bring in and them finding the passion to do it too. And working with my husband. I mean, I am so lucky that I've got a husband that encourages and supports and mentors and kicks my butt once in a while to get it done. And it's really just our happy place together.
Yeah, we've had your husband on the show
Yeah,
before. He's
well,
also amazingly talented and doing great things to
We're getting the wrap up.
to bring stuff to the stage.
No, actually, not at all. I was hoping I can jump in and
Yeah, go right ahead.
Well, I'm a self-proclaimed theater nerd. I go to any and all shows if I can. Previous to kids, I would go to you name it. If it had a curtain, I was there. So now that I've got kids, it's a little harder. So now I've started to bring them to shows. We've been to a couple of shows here in Newhall, and I just really enjoy it so much. But I wanted to ask you your thoughts on Wicked. Just celebrated its 20-year anniversary last week.
Has it been 20 years
20
already?
years, which is incredible to think that it's been that long. And obviously, it's such a show that has kind of grasped people of all ages. My daughter, who's 11 years old, loves it. Me, my mother. What do you think, in your opinion, what is it that is so unique about that show? Obviously, if no one is familiar with the show Wicked, it's the backstory of the witches of Oz before Dorothy, as they like to say in their tagline, before Dorothy dropped in. And it's the story of Glinda the Good Witch and, of course, the Green Witch. So what's your opinion on why that's such a special show?
Shocker, I have not seen it.
Oh,
I know, but
interesting.
I've got thoughts on it.
Yeah.
First of all, everybody loves a good origin story,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
come on. And so this
Yeah.
is like the origin story of like one of the most major Hollywood movies and
Yeah.
and stories of all time. And second, I think it really it was one of those moments like Hamilton is,
Right.
Wicked is. It's the moment where it turns theater on its ear a little bit.
Yes.
It switches it up a little bit. It offers something besides just the Rodgers and Hammerstein
Yes,
sort
the
of
tap
like
dance.
da, 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 da,
Yes,
da.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
something a little eerie. It's something really outside the box. And I think
Yeah.
that in theater, that's always the goal. Give them something new, show them something new. You
Sure.
know.
Yeah,
Sure.
I agree.
Yeah, we've been doing theater for thousands of years, and so as a human race, our collective repertoire of shows really becomes expansive.
hmm
It gets harder and harder to come up with something creative, but it's
hmm
amazing what producers and writers are able to come up with to, like you said, really kind of turn theater on its ear and,
hmm
and make something new, creative, innovative. So you've been in a lot of stage plays, but as I mentioned when I introduced you last break, you've also been on the Fuzzbox a
Yeah.
few times, well,
The
more
little
than a few
screen.
times. So where might our listeners have seen you?
Oh my goodness. Um, long time, Parks and Recreation. That was like, I was
Love
there.
Parks and Rec.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The
Nice.
Lawyer, most recently, Lincoln Lawyer, most recently,
Okay.
Space Force, The Office,
Okay,
New
so
Girl.
that I missed, and I'm a huge fan
Yeah.
of The Office.
Yeah.
What?
So be careful what
episode
you
were
wish
on?
for. I was
Okay.
like, I want to be on The Office. I'm going to be on The Office. And
Uh-huh.
I'm visualizing this. I should have said I want to be on The Office with everybody else.
Okay.
Because I'm playing a documentarian on that episode where they visit Pennsylvania and
Uh-huh.
Schrute Farm
Yes,
about
yes,
the
yes, yes, yes.
wartime, about the Civil War. So I'm the documentarian that's talking about the Schrute Farm and how it was a haven for artists and things like that. And I literally got to work with nobody on that show.
Oh, no.
It's like, no.
That's awful, but wonderful that you got to be a
Yeah.
part of that
Yeah.
amazing
Oh,
production.
sure.
And then you mentioned New Girl. You were
New Girl. I played a barfly. So Beachcomber, New Girl,
Sweet.
barfly. I don't know, man. There's a theme here. In Lincoln Lawyer, I was on 911.
Okay.
I was a tragic accident in 911. That was exciting.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So a lot of comedy, some more drama, but a lot more comedy like that.
Okay, so what do you prefer, or maybe what's more difficult? What do you find more difficult? Creating your own shows, which I can imagine. Then there's no worry about how to appropriately interpret what
Yeah.
you've created, or actually recreating someone else's production.
Somebody else's idea.
Yeah,
You mean on theater? In theater?
in theater, yes.
Golly, good, Matt. That's a heck of a question. Yes, when you are, and actually with the other actors, and I want to mention the other actors in Beachcomber too. Casey Powell-Thorpe's is Sunny,
Yeah.
and her husband Theo is played by Kevin Linnell, and directed by Barry Egan, assistant director by Shannon Harrell. Mike Fleming is Cap, and Sonia Arnold and Jorge Aguila are in it also.
Okay.
One thing we keep telling them and that they're excited about is that this is indeed the first time anybody's ever looked at these characters. They are originating them. They are creating them. As far as what's more difficult, I think they both have the challenges and excitement about that. To be able to take a character that's been done and put myself in it,
Yeah. Yeah, that I can imagine can be tough. One more time, check out Eclipse Theater for information on how to get your tickets to Beachcomber starting next weekend. Nancy, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm Matt Watson. You're listening to SCVi, and I lead Schools Eye on the Valley on KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is Matt Watson, your host, and you are listening to SCVi, and I lead Schools Eye on the Valley. We are coming to you live from the center of Main Street here in beautiful downtown Newhall, and I'm super excited about our next guest. He is the LA County Sheriff Captain Justin Diaz, responsible for law enforcement here in the Santa Clarita area. Captain Diaz is a 19-year veteran with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. He was promoted to the rank of captain and assigned to the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff's Station in March of 2020, providing law enforcement services to approximately 290,000 residents. Captain Diaz entered the Sheriff's Training Academy in December of 2001. Gosh, by the look of you, about the age of 3 years old, I guess, sir. Upon graduating, he was assigned to the Pitches Detention Center, North County Correctional Facility. He also served as a deputy in various assignments, including Transit Services Bureau, Community-Oriented Policing Services Bureau, and Operation Safe Streets Bureau. Upon his promotion to sergeant in 2010, Captain Diaz was assigned to Lancaster Station, Community-Oriented Policing Services Bureau, and Internal Affairs Bureau. After being promoted to lieutenant in 2015, Diaz was assigned to Lancaster Station Internal Affairs Bureau, Santa Clarita Valley Station, Lost Hills Station, and the Hall of Justice. Captain Diaz holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Sociology, Criminology from Cal State University, Northridge. Yeah, go Matadors! And a Master of Science degree in Criminal Justice from the University of Cincinnati, Ohio. Captain Diaz has been a resident of Santa Clarita Valley for over 16 years now and lives with his wife and 2 children. Captain Diaz, welcome to Eye on the Valley.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. So first off, before we get to anything, I want to thank you for your service to our communities as well as that of every one of your deputies. And before we get into some of the pressing issues, because I can't have Captain Diaz on the show without asking about crime in our valley and different things going on. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about you. Tell us what led you to choose a career in law enforcement, because as we were talking, you're not going to get wealthy like owning a Starbucks franchise, and it's certainly a dangerous and a high-risk profession. What got you into law enforcement?
Well, I've been asked before, and I give the same answer every time, and people always laugh, but it's serious. You guys have seen the movie or the show Chips, right?
Absolutely.
Poncherello and John?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I was little, I used to watch it. I don't know if they were reruns at the time or if they were, current,
Uh-huh.
but I watched Ponch and John on that motorcycle, and that brainwashed me, and I thought, oh man, this is what I want to do. But I didn't have any family in law enforcement.
Okay.
I was the first one. My brother also,
Mhm.
my younger brother, he came in after me. But yeah,
Okay.
for me, it was Poncherello and John.
All right. So you and your brother are Ponch and John. Do you consider yourself more of a by the book, straightforward John, or are you more of a by the seat of your pants kind of? I don't want to
Eric
hurt you with the
Estrada?
flowing
More of
lock.
an
You're more of
Eric
an Eric
Estrada?
Estrada, kind of dos mujeres un camino kind of guy.
Boy, I don't know. That's a great question. Maybe somewhere in the middle. I don't know. I've never
kind of
thought about it.
That mixture of John Arello. Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
I like it. Okay. So you, as I mentioned in your bio, you were appointed to lead the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriffs at, what we didn't realize at the time, but what was going to be a very ominous and tough time to do anything here in the United States, but especially law enforcement, although we didn't know, and you certainly didn't know what was coming, immediately the pandemic set in March of 2020. So how did you get through being recently assigned as captain of the Santa Clarita Valley Station? How did you get through those challenges in the first few months? What was that like?
Yeah, good question. So I think, I started March 12th or 13th or somewhere thereabouts, and the pandemic was later that week.
Right.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
that was
the beginning of the next
I think it
week.
was the next day, Friday.
Yeah.
Well, that's when school shut down. Was Friday the 13th. Day afterwards, the following week, and gosh, I remember St. Patrick's Day. We still had our family gathering, but we all stood in separate corners of the house looking at each other. So, which one of you guys is gonna kill me with your germs?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what
Yeah,
that
it
like?
was a unique time. We just kind of, there's 23 sheriff stations.
Mhm.
There are multiple units and bureaus everywhere. There's jails everywhere. There's courthouses everywhere. And each one kind of runs, although we're all the sheriff's department, we kind of run individually or separately. Under each captain and things, although there's an overarching policy and procedures, each unit runs a little bit different.
Sure.
So at the time, the sheriff said, hey, captains, you need to figure out how you're going to run your units, what you're going to do, and how you're going to do it, because the department had never faced anything like that. And there were no rules and regulations and manuals and
Wow.
policy and procedures. So I don't know, it probably took the department a month or so to kind of start coming out with guidelines and stuff on what to do. So for the first month-ish, maybe a little bit more, a little less, we were kind of on our own to just kind of figure it out. But I think what you're alluding to and what was the obvious thing is everybody had to come to work, right?
Right.
We couldn't work from home.
Mm-hmm.
We still had to go into people's homes. We had
Sure.
to bring people in the backseat of our patrol cars, obviously. We have to bring people to the jail. We have to bring people to Henry Mayo Hospital for medical clearance
Yep.
before being booked. We have to, you name it. So it was very, very unique time. Nobody at our station, so we're budgeted for 256 people at the station. Nobody got to telecommute, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of tough to do the work that you do as a law enforcement official from home.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, you can't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a very unique time. We certainly got through it. Looking back on it, it was just almost unimaginable, right? You
Yeah.
look back on it now and you think, gosh, times were so complicated. If it ever happened again, we'd certainly know what to do and not do. But
Sure.
at that time, it was so overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talk about overwhelming. Gosh, you you weren't in the position of captain for more than a week before this set in, and every leader loves that their boss might give them some autonomy and some authority, but when you're told, hey man, figure out a pandemic on your own, and
Yeah.
how to police during a pandemic and dealing with the gamut of human emotion and responses to it. I'm sure you had deputies that didn't want to get close to anybody, and deputies that were like, hey, we're cops, let's get in there and let's do our job. But
Yeah, we had the whole gamut. We ran the
yeah,
whole gamut. I
I
mean,
bet.
the deputies, they were the boots on the ground. They were the ones, the deputies, the sergeants, lieutenants,
Mhm.
they're the ones that were putting in all the hard work, right? And
Uh-huh.
going to work and then not knowing if they were going to get sick, bring it home to their spouse or their significant other or their kids or perhaps their parents or,
Yeah.
you name it, just like in any other business. So, kudos to the deputies and, the dedication of the station, all the station personnel, and not just the deputies, all the civilians. We have dozens of civilians at the station,
Yes, you do.
secretaries, jailers, crime analysts, you name it, that are support staff. And they were in the same boat. They weren't working from home either. They were at work all day, every day. So really, it was a real testament to the dedication of the men and women at the station of all ranks, from
Absolutely.
civilian all the way up. And pretty amazing time.
Absolutely, and yeah, can't express our gratitude enough for your deputies, for the civilian employees, and everybody that works together to make sure that our city stays as safe as it is. And like I said, you were brand new captain and had to figure out this unprecedented event. And once you start to get some guidelines from the sheriff and you start to kind of catch your stride, we get hit the summer of 2020 with nationwide protests and demonstrations that made their way to Santa Clarita as well, which provided some unique challenges. There were threats of violence. Thankfully, our city, as we do, we really showed out, right? Our city was able to express some frustration, some angst, some disappointment in some things going on around the country without turning to violence. But I'm sure that was a significant challenge right as we were still getting through the pandemic.
Yeah, no, it was because, during that time, the station was receiving threats against the station
Sure.
to burn down the station. There was threats of, burning down different businesses, throughout the community, things like that.
Sure.
And there's always, in law enforcement, finding that perfect balance between, First Amendment rights and keeping law and order, right?
Right.
While people are exercising those First Amendment rights. And we did great. We
Yes,
had a
you
lot
did.
of protest here. The deputies maintained their cool.
Mhm.
They provided security for both sides ultimately.
Sure.
And we got through it. And what was unique, and I know you just said it, but it wasn't just there was a pandemic and then the pandemic stopped and then the protest came. It was both.
Right.
Right. So March of 2020 pandemic, June of 2020 protest. And then if you remember, at the end of the year, another huge wave of pandemic came.
Yeah.
I forget which variant it was.
It really
but
spiked. It
yeah,
was
it spiked.
It was a Delta or an Omicron or some other
It was
Greek
one
letter.
of those.
Yeah.
And then we got through that. And then the next unique piece that happened to the station ultimately. So March of 2020 pandemic, June of 2020 protest, the end of 2020 and beginning of 2021, huge spike in pandemic.
Sure.
And then massive staffing issues and budget
Yeah.
cuts at the time. And that's continued to basically where we are now.
Yeah, it's been a real struggle, and I know there are several constituencies in town because, unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at things, y'all at the LA County Sheriff's Department have really spoiled us over the past several decades with just phenomenal coverage and security in our valley, and we've grown used to y'all always being there when we need you, and so those staffing shortages can really become a challenge. Santa Clarita has always prided itself on being one of America's top five
Mm.
safest cities, and we still kind of maintain one of those safest cities in the country status. Has it been a lot of pressure on your shoulders coming into a place like Santa Clarita, having to maintain that top status?
Typically, no, because maintaining it's a culture that, the deputies and the
Okay.
captains, basically everybody from the professional staff to the captains over the years,
Mm.
it's just a culture that is just carried for years and years and years and years and years in Santa Clarita. And coming into it, I was a lieutenant at the station.
Hmm.
And coming into it as a captain, all I had to do was maintain the culture, which is very simple to do. And the one very
All
unique
right.
thing about Santa Clarita sheriff stations, we have 23 sheriff stations. The one very unique thing is that almost everybody that lives, or I'm sorry, that works at the station, regardless of rank, lives in Santa Clarita. Although not everybody, some live in the San Fernando Valley or
Mhm.
surrounding areas. But even if they don't, they're certainly in Santa Clarita all the time to, well, of course, to work, but also,
Sure.
off duty time, work, play. A lot of times if they live out of the Santa Clarita Valley, their kids are playing sports in Santa Clarita,
Hmm.
stuff like that. So it's actually very simple to maintain the culture. Once there's a culture established at a station or any business, any entity, it's very
Right.
simple to maintain a culture. It's hard to change a culture, but I didn't have to change a culture. Now, where it
That's a
got
good point.
complicated though was the staffing shortages.
Right.
And to get back to your question, so we're running and we've been running at about 70% staffing at the station,
All right.
coming up on 2 years, or actually, we're probably over 2 years. And ultimately, the way that we make up for it is through overtime. So it's
Okay.
still the same level of service. However, the to get to that level of service, the deputies are working overtime. And basically, what they do is they can work up to 120 hours a month of overtime. If you do
All
the
right.
math, that's 70 hours a week. And we've been
Whew.
doing that for 2 years now. Coming up
Wow.
on February will be 2 years.
Okay. So I'm it's sounding like it's not a budgeting issue if we're able to pay that much overtime, but more of finding uh, the right personnel, finding folks who are willing to step up and say that yeah, I'll stand on the front lines and protect this community.
Yeah, probably a little bit of both. It probably
Okay.
started off as a budgeting issue,
All right.
and then things have changed in law enforcement. It is harder to get people to want to do the job.
Sure.
It is harder to get people that really have a passion for it. This type of job. It's not something where you can kind of go in, and halfway do it or 60% do it. You kind of got to be all in
Mm,
because of the hours you have to work, the types of things you deal with. A modern day police officer at any department's expected to be smart, right? Expected to be tough, right?
yeah.
You're on
Tough
body camera.
physically and emotionally.
Sure,
Yeah.
tough physically and emotionally. Think about having a camera. If you
Yeah.
guys were at KHTS all day with a camera recording every single solitary thing you did, other than going to the bathroom,
Uh-huh.
and expected to perform to near perfection,
Hmm.
that is not easy.
I,
And so we put a lot of pressure on law enforcement, and around the country. I can only speak for the sheriff's department,
mhm.
but there's a lot that's being asked of the deputy sheriffs.
Yeah, very high pressure. You're right. We do ask a lot, and we ask, you're right, near perfection, and not just near perfection out of a professional, but near perfection under the most extreme circumstances, when folks are coming at you verbally, physically, and you don't know what's behind that facade. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Typically, a victim of a crime could call law enforcement, for help, or perhaps you go and help somebody at the scene of a car accident, or, there are various reasons why somebody would call law enforcement. But when you think about it, typically law enforcement is called when there's an issue, right? And somebody's having a
Absolutely.
problem.
Hmm.
And, I know I'm getting a little off track, but, the mental illness aspect of it has
It's real.
become very, very significant.
Hmm.
And again, the deputies are, you know, uh, every day dealing with confronting quite a bit of mental illness. And again, being on body camera, having the rules and regulations, having all the policies that we're expected to abide by, and then throwing in the significant amount of mental illness
Yeah.
really makes it even more challenging. It's another aspect of it.
Yeah, gosh. Again, can't express enough gratitude for everything that that you and your fellow deputies do every single day, from just patrolling to dealing with those extreme circumstances. We're talking with LA County Sheriff Captain Justin Diaz. When we get back, we'll talk crime in our city and how you can support our sheriff's deputies. Stick around. I'm Matt Watson. You're listening to SCVi and I Lead Schools Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. I am Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVi and I Lead Schools Eye on the Valley. We're fortunate to be talking this morning with LA County Sheriff Captain Justin Diaz, captain of the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station here, just doing amazing work in some of the most challenging times. We were talking briefly during the break about how police work, law enforcement has shifted so radically, even over the last few years. And so I'm sure that requires just a tremendous amount of continued training and support for all of your deputies. I want to talk for a few minutes about, I think, what everybody is wondering and worrying about. The KHTS news crew is so nimble, and so we see a lot of the different things that that go on in our valley, and folks worry about crime. Most of us have moved here for one of two things: either what you ensure or what I ensure. Great schools and a safe city,
Yeah.
right? So let's talk about crime in our valley. What's our community's kind of trend right now? Are we seeing an increase in crime, or is that just based on percentage of population growth? What are we
Yeah,
seeing?
great question. So I'll back up just so we can explain what crime is and how we track it.
All right.
So the way we track crime in law enforcement across the country is Part 1 crimes. So murder, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, larceny, theft, arson, and grand theft auto. I
Okay.
think that's 7. Yep, I think that's all 7. Okay, so those are called Part 1 crimes. And ultimately, if let's say a car's stolen out in front of KHTS here, a deputy will come take a police
Sure.
report. And once that police report's written, it'll go into the computer system, and then that crime will be tracked, right? So we know that a stolen car was here. All of our crimes are reported to the FBI every year for the Uniform Crime Reports, and that's how we track crime across the country. FBI actually keeps track of it.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, so of our Part 1 crimes, that's those crimes that I just told you about, we track those every day. Every day when I get to work, I look up our Part 1 crimes, see if we have any spikes, any lows, and then we go at it. That's when we get our special teams, our patrol, our detectives to go try and fight that crime. So to answer your question, of those crimes, we're very fortunate in Santa Clarita that the majority of our crime is property crime. And we
Okay.
have very, very little, although it does exist, violent crime.
All right.
So property crime. So let's talk about that. What are our big property crimes? So stolen cars,
Mhm.
porch pirates, right? You order your favorite thing off Amazon, a brand new microphone for the office,
Absolutely.
and that sucker's gone right off the porch, right?
Right. And I'm on the
So
phone with Amazon going, no, man, I never got.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my Ring doorbell shows me. Yeah.
exactly. So porch pirates, theft from unlocked vehicles. Matt, you would be shocked at how many people don't lock their cars. So think about this. If you're a bad guy, right, or a bad gal, and you go to a big parking lot, you name it, Target,
Sure.
Walmart, the mall, whatever, and there's, let's just say, 200 cars in one little section. If you nonchalantly walk by all the cars, all you have to do is nonchalantly flip the door handles, and one of them's going to be unlocked, or multiple of them are going to be
Yeah.
unlocked.
And you can do that while walking by, and nobody even notices. Yeah.
Nobody would know in a million years. And then by the time you flip that lock, or flip that handle, figure out that it's unlocked, rummage through the car, you're in and out in seconds, and it's gone.
Yeah.
Or theft from locked vehicles, where people lock their car, thankfully, of course, right? But they leave something of high value on the front seat. So women's purses is a guaranteed every time. Laptops, cell phones. You wouldn't think that people would leave their car without their cell phones, but they do. I wouldn't. I think mine's always attached to me, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they do leave them in there. I don't know, just random high value stuff. So property crime is huge. Theft from unlocked garages. So
yeah.
oftentimes people have attached garages and of course detached garages, but they leave them open.
Mhm.
Well, if you're a bad guy walking down the street, what's always in a garage? Tools, bicycles. Sometimes people keep guns in garages.
Sure.
They should be locked up in a safe, but they'll keep
Yes, they
guns in
should.
garages. I don't know. Garages, it's got all your valuables in there,
And
right?
it's an easy in and out,
It
right? You
sure is.
don't hear a creaking door or
You
anything
don't
like
even have
that.
to break in because the
Yeah.
garage door's left open.
Yeah.
So a big part of our crime is property crime. So I
Okay.
can tell you that we track our crime daily. So every day when I get to work, I look at our crime and I get
Mhm.
our year-to-date crime rate. So basically what it tells me is what is our crime today
Mhm.
versus today's date last year. So we get a 1-year crime rate. And then what is our crime today versus today's date 5 years ago? So we get a 1-year crime rate versus 2023 versus 2022,
Mhm.
and then 2023 versus 2018. So I looked it up this morning, and I never give exact numbers because it always fluctuates a tiny bit.
Sure.
But roughly, as we are today, as we stand here today versus this date last year in 2022, we're up about 100 crimes in Santa Clarita.
Okay.
And as we stand here today versus today's date in 2018, we're up about 30 crimes. So what does that
Okay.
mean? Okay, so at the beginning, when you read my bio, you said we have about 290,000 in the Santa Clarita Valley.
Sure.
We're probably around there, 300,000 somewhere in there. Let's
Mhm.
just say 300,000 for an easy number.
Sure.
Okay, so think about 300,000. We probably have 60 something schools out here, 60 something places of worship. We just opened up our fourth
Sounds about
Metro
right.
Link.
Yeah.
We've got Magic Mountain.
Mhm.
We've got the mall. We've got the car dealerships, you name it, right?
Yeah.
I think 8,000 business. I was just at the State of the City last week. They
All
said
right.
8,000 businesses
8,000
in
businesses.
Santa Clarita. So anyway, what those numbers equate to is we have about 3,100 Part 1 crimes
Mhm.
reported year to date for this year so far.
Okay.
So between January 1st and today, when I checked it before I came in, about 3,100 reported Part 1 crimes.
Okay.
The overwhelming majority of them, although I don't have a percentage, is a property crime. And then a very, very small percentage, although we do have it, is our violent crime.
Okay. Okay. So our community's growing. So it sounds like it's about commensurate. But you and your deputies certainly have your work cut out for you. That's a
Yeah,
lot going on.
well, absolutely. The community's growing. Obviously, when you look around Santa Clarita, you see new homes going up everywhere. I shouldn't say everywhere, but you see new homes going up, different communities being built. And the population's growing out here. There's more cars out here, right?
Right.
There's more people commuting into Santa Clarita,
Hmm.
perhaps to work. We have a lot of commuters from the Antelope Valley, from the San
Sure.
Fernando Valley, from Ventura County down the 126.
Yeah.
So yeah, to be 30 or so crimes over 2018 and 100 or so crimes over last year is not too bad. Actually,
Yeah.
not bad at all. Hence all
Sure.
the safest city landmarks that we keep
Yeah.
getting.
Definitely.
Now, there's more to the story, though. Crime is affected by things we know, and crime is affected by things we can't measure, right? So one thing we can measure is weather. So the
Hmm.
secret sauce is when it rains in Santa Clarita, crime goes down quite a bit.
All right.
And if you guys remember last year, I think it probably started in November-ish, maybe December.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had a ton of rain, and it carried
We
us
did.
through. I remember for sure December. It may have also been November, but it carried us through January
Hmm.
and probably into February, or part of February.
It was a rainy winter.
It was a rainy winter, and crime. People don't want to go outside their house, right?
Sure.
You're not going to go walk the mall parking lot and flip door handles for an unlocked car when it's raining, 2 inches a day,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's kind of unique, right? Same thing at night when it gets very, very cold in the winter,
Hmm.
after 11, 12 o'clock at night, generally people stay in their house. Not everybody, of
Nobody
course.
wants to have to wear 2 ski masks.
No,
Right.
it's too much work.
Right. So there it is. Pray for rain like a farmer would.
Sure.
Captain Diaz, it always is a struggle for me to even talk about the subject, but we're coming up on the 4th anniversary of a very tragic event that took place in our community. I'm talking about the Saugus school shooting, and that still continues to affect our community deeply, and it affects how we approach different things. So how's the Santa Clarita Sheriff's Department, the station, working with our schools to help keep them safe?
Yeah, great question. So we do have a contract with the Hart School District. Superintendent Mike Kuhlman, a dear friend of mine and a true leader, and I really mean that. He's got his hands full, obviously.
Oh boy, does he! I don't
Yeah.
admire him at all.
Absolutely. So bless your heart, Mike, if you're listening out there. But we have a contract with them, or they have a contract with us, I should say, for school resource deputies. And there's a deputy assigned to each of the high schools. And then, as you know, Hart School District includes the high schools and the junior highs.
Correct.
And so they're physically on campus at the high schools, and then they make their way to the junior highs when available. But ultimately, at each one of our high schools, there's a school resource deputy, and that's a big thing because they're not just security. They end up wearing many hats.
Oh boy,
They're
yeah.
security guards, they're police officers, they're psychologists, sociologists, they're friends, they're a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And it's really a one-stop shop. Those deputies help the school figure out any vulnerabilities they have at the school, any security issues. Those deputies know those kids in and out. If we have a crime being committed, either on campus or off campus, those deputies are an excellent resource. They're helping the school district with lockdown drills, with, you name it, with everything you could think of, anything security related.
Sure.
And it's really been a wonderful program, especially in a county where school resource deputies are few and far between. Many, many years ago, there used to be school resource deputies countywide. I don't know how many programs there are now, but there probably aren't many left. I don't want to speak for the sheriff, but we obviously have the program at Santa Clarita Sheriff Station.
Sure.
I know in the Antelope Valley, they still have it. But I'm going to guess, and I don't want to speak for the sheriff, there are probably only a handful of sheriff stations that still have the SRD program.
Yeah. Yeah. Very important.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Please.
It's, to me, we've got, 7 or 8 special teams at the station. To me, that school resource deputy program is one of the most important. And, I think that we would all agree that protecting the kids, they're our most precious commodity that we have, and really the future of Santa Clarita. When all of us are gone, or gone, moved on doing something else, those kids are going to take our roles someday. And, protecting them and keeping them safe is a number one priority for the station.
Absolutely. It certainly is. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask about the elementary schools as well. I call myself an educator because I am a teacher. I work for iLead Schools, but I wear another hat as a board member of one of the local elementary school districts. And I know you have a contract with the Hart School District, and certainly the need is greater as the kids get into those preteen and teenage years. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. We talked about the challenge that Superintendent Kuhlman has. But there are needs from time to time at our elementary schools, whether they're issues coming from outside of the school fences or inside the school as well. Tell me how the dynamic is with the sheriff's department and your deputies and the elementary schools. How do you partner with the elementary school districts to keep our babies safe?
Yeah, so great question. So as you know, you're on the inside. You know that we have 5 districts out here.
Correct.
So of course, Hart is our high schools and junior highs, and then the rest of the 4 are our elementary schools, right?
Correct.
And then of course we've got private schools sprinkled in there, and our
Absolutely.
colleges too.
Right.
So anyway, to answer your question, so the 4 districts that have elementary schools, they do not contract with us. However, it's not just that cut and dry. I'm in constant contact with all 4 of those superintendents, not only via email, but we're all in a giant email chain all the time for anything that might come up. But on the phone all the time or in person, we meet quite a bit. And ultimately, when they have an issue, they'll come to me and I'll either farm it out to one of the school resource deputies if they're available to help, or just like anybody else, if you had an issue at your house or at your business, we would send the deputies there.
Sure.
So the deputies are always available to go to those schools, but it's different. I mean, I know what you're getting at. Obviously, it's different because you don't have somebody on campus all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, where it gets even more complicated is that, you take all of the colleges, junior highs, high schools, elementaries, middle schools, you name it. We're over 60. Well, if you add the private schools, I think we're over 70 actually.
Yeah.
So how could you possibly put physically put a deputy and even pay for a deputy at every one
Sure.
of them? The answer is you can't.
You can't.
And ultimately, I think our superintendents have done a great job, at least from my point of view, of figuring out ways to harden their campuses for school security. They've come up with all kinds of different things that they do, and that's internal stuff that they would speak
Certainly.
to you about. But we're available to them all the time. Occasionally, we are on campus when things do happen, of course, and always willing to work with them.
Well, and like you said, kind of being on the inside and understanding that it's not just reactive work that you're doing. I know anytime we do change some of our, whether it's facilities, amenities, or policies, procedures, you and your deputies will actually come out to our elementary schools and kind of take a walk and take a look at what it is that we're doing and give feedback on it. This is going to keep your school safer. This is not, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think all of our superintendents, or not, I think I know all of our superintendents do a school safety plan every year.
Correct.
And as part of that school safety plan, some of it is complicated and some of it isn't. Some of it's as simple as updating all the new phone numbers for all the new people that are in and out, right? But then the other part is, to your point, Matt, when something's changed, a new gate is put in, or a gate's taken
Yes.
out, or a building is done, it's added to that school safety plan. And ultimately, either myself will review it, or our SRD sergeant, our school resource deputy sergeant, or somebody from our crime prevention unit will review it. And we keep all those school safety plans at the station with the watch commander, with the watch sergeant. And then the school safety plans are also in our patrol cars.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked during the commercial break a little bit about, and we were mentioning before about how policing has changed pretty radically over the last, well, gosh, decade, but even the last 3 to 5 years. There's been such a heightened awareness of mental health issues, and it seems like those have really become more prolific in our society. So, how has this affected police work in Santa Clarita, and how has the training that you provide your officers changed?
Yeah, great question. So, I'll take a step back. We were talking at the break. 6, 7, 8 years ago, if you'd asked a police officer what was the bread and butter of policing,
Yeah.
they would tell you gang members, they would tell you guns, and they would tell you narcotics. And narcotics like the hard narcotics, heroin,
Sure.
cocaine, meth, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Now, fast forward to today, you ask a police officer what's the bread and butter of policing, they're going to tell you homelessness,
Mhm.
they're going to tell you mental health and
Mhm.
school security. It's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about mental health, yeah, we arrest about 430 people a month is probably about our average at Santa Cruz Sheriff Station. And you walk into the jail, and it's amazing. I don't know what the percentage is, but a significant percentage of the people in the jail at the station have something going on mentally. On a scale of 1 to 10, a 1 being maybe lightweight anxiety and depression,
Sure.
or depression, a 10 being a full 5150 committal.
Mhm.
Most everybody in there is somewhere on that scale, and
Okay.
it's
Wow.
unbelievable. And again, a modern day police officer is expected to be patient, to de-escalate when
Okay.
appropriate, right? If it's safe to do
Sure.
so, and use their training. We go through a shoot, don't shoot, crisis, negotiation training.
Yeah.
We go through crisis intervention training, constantly briefing or training, doing in-service training during our briefings.
Mhm.
Every day, when the deputies go out, we don't do it every day, but during briefing every day, they'll do various trainings. And it's amazing because it really, really comes down to a lot of it to mental health.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate at our station that we've got a MET team, that's a mental evaluation team, which is an ununiformed deputy sheriff in partnership with a clinician from LA County Mental Health. And if we have a call, if dispatch gets a call of somebody in mental stress, some sort of mental need, they'll send out the MET team. Now, the problem is you've got dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of deputy sheriffs running around everywhere in Santa Clarita and only one MET team, right?
Sure.
And they're not there 24 hours. We have them 7 days a week, but we don't have them 24 hours.
All right.
So they can get to many of the calls. I almost said majority. They can't get to the majority of the calls. They can
Okay.
get to many of the calls, but not all of them. But they are a huge, huge, huge resource for us
Yeah.
because not only are they, higher training, more training, they're better at de-escalation. I mean, you've got a highly, highly, highly trained MET deputy
Sure.
out of uniform with a clinician. So, and the other part is if they need to be 5150 to Henry Mayo Hospital or All of You Hospital in Sylmar,
Mhm.
they can actually take the patient there and 5150 them and keep the deputy in the field, because once a deputy does that, they're going to be out of the field, 3 to 4 hours.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Gosh, doing such amazing work to support our community and keep us all safe. But y'all need support as well, right? You've got our backs. We need to have yours. What can residents in the Santa Clarita Valley do to best support our local deputies?
Oh, that's a tough question. Well, we always say it, but it really is true. We're very fortunate in Santa Clarita that we have a lot of support. Santa Clarita traditionally has always been centered around public safety and,
Mhm.
quality of life.
Yeah.
There's bazillions of police officers and fire, personnel, first responders, ambulance drivers, nurses, doctors that live in Santa Clarita.
It's a great place to live.
It is a great place to live and raise a family. So, just by default and, by culture, like we were talking about before, we get that support.
Good.
We get letters in all the time. And I mean, literally 2, 3 days a week.
Mhm.
We get, kids will color us stuff, things like that.
Mhm.
I mean, just a simple hi and thank you, goes a
There you
long
go.
ways. The deputies might pretend like they're too cool, but they like it deep down. So anyway, just, just a smiling face is always nice.
There you go. Yeah, definitely a smiling face. And hey, when necessary, how about a little bit of cooperation? So, Captain Diaz, once again, I want to thank you for your service and that of your deputies. I do want to, well, so my mom listens to the show but she won't let me have nice things of my own, and so she makes me bring my stupid brother in and share the radio show with him. So Big T's going to be calling in just a couple of seconds, and he's got some trivia questions. I know you've got some important work to do, but can you stick around for a couple more minutes? You want to play trivia?
Sure.
All right, fantastic. Let's see if we can bring Engineer Andrew on in here to play with us as well. Captain Justin Diaz is going to be playing with us. You stick around for Big T's 5 Minutes of Fame. This is SCVi, and I lead Schools Eye on the Valley. I'm Matt Watson, and this is your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 98.1 FM and 1220 AM. This is SCVi, and I lead Schools Eye on the Valley. I am your host, Matt Watson, and joining us in the studio, we've got Engineer Jen, we've got Engineer Andrew, and Captain Justin Diaz has been gracious enough to stick around and horse around with us for a little bit during Big T's 5 Minutes of Fame. Y'all know Big T. He is an executive and philanthropist. He's an amazing father, husband, and community leader. He's a world traveler, and you can also safely observe a solar eclipse by looking at it through one ear of Big T and out the other. Here he is. He's Mom's favorite. Big T, welcome to the show.
Dragon.
Big T, welcome
There
to
we
the
go.
show.
My bad.
Good morning, Matt. How are you?
Doing great. Good to have you. So, Big T, we are ready to roll. So what we're gonna do, Captain Diaz, Big T, he's got some questions for us. You set the disclaimer. You're not great at Jeopardy, but Big T, he's got a potpourri of questions for you. And what we're gonna do, he's gonna throw out the questions, and you don't just shout out the answer because he's not gonna be able to tell which one of us it is. You hit your buzzer, and your buzzer is your name. So you can go ahead and call out your name if you want to go by Captain or by Justin. We're good. We've got Andrew. We've got Jen. For whatever reason, I'm Frogger. And then so once you get recognized by Big T, then you can throw out the answer. Those of you playing along at home, you don't have to hit your buzzer. You can get the drop on us. Just shout out the answer. See if you can beat us. But I will warn you, we're pretty good. Big T, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, Captain Diaz. It's great to chat with you. I also wanted to say thank you for all of the work that the sheriffs do in the community, but also recently you guys just hosted another haunted jailhouse benefiting the Boys and Girls Club. I was on the board of directors of the Boys and Girls Club for a while, and it's a great event. Been several times. Our families volunteered there, so thank you very much for keeping that tradition alive for the community.
Thank you, Big T. Well, you can repay me by giving me some easy questions here.
Hey, there we go. Lobbing with softball.
On that. We'll kick it off. So Papa is 6-2. The group has to decide, and I think we'll let Andrew be the judge.
Captain Diaz, Papa is my dad. He likes to pick college football. Tony, is he 6-2?
Well, Papa picked Utah last week, which was a loss, but we weren't on the air. Andrew, does he wear the L?
No.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to give Papa a bye last week. Wow, very generous.
Papa is 6-2, and this week he is taking Fresno State.
All right, taking Fresno State.
Bulldogs.
All right.
All righty. Let's kick it off with some trivia. For the first time ever on the show, we're going to kick it off with a little bit of law enforcement trivia.
Oh, man.
Okay. All right.
What is a code 3?
Justin. Did I do it right?
Yeah,
Yes,
you
you
did.
did.
Yes, sir.
That's when a police officer goes lights and sirens.
Absolutely. What, Captain is on the board. What's a code 7?
Gosh. Frogger.
Frogger.
That's when you got a booger hanging out your nose.
No, sir. That's a code 1.
Oh, okay. I don't know. What's a code 7?
Isn't that when you go and eat?
Yes, it is.
Look at that. I remembered. I'm up 2 on you guys.
All righty. So when you need a code 7, do you stop by Egg Plantation, get yourself one of those nice omelets?
I do like egg
Oh, my
plantation.
goodness.
Got to
Are
check
they,
it
a
out.
paid, are they a paid advertiser?
No, they're just a very close friend of the show.
All right. What's the police code 211 stand for?
Gosh.
Come on, guys.
Justin, these are yours.
Yeah.
Jen,
Justin,
breaking and entering.
Oh,
incorrect.
Oh.
Captain,
Justin, robbery.
robbery. Matt, you should have known that. Your dad was a robbery and homicide detective.
he
Come
was,
on,
but
Matt.
that was a long time ago.
What does IAD stand for?
Justin.
Oh,
Justin.
Frogger. If he gets this one wrong, I know it. No, go ahead. You buzzed in first.
Okay. Internal Affairs Bureau.
Internal Affairs Bureau is correct. What's the most popular police dog?
Frogger.
Frogger.
German Shepherd.
German Shepherd. Frogger's on the board. What's the most popular fire dog?
Frogger.
Jen.
Oh, I need
Frogger.
I'm going Dalmatian.
Dalmatian's correct. What's the most popular dog for Hollywood celebrities? It should be a rescue, but it's not.
Frogger.
Frogger.
Hot dog.
Incorrect. Anybody?
Justin.
It's about Justin.
Chihuahua.
Chihuahua is correct. Good point.
Arts and
yeah.
entertainment
Pretty
poll.
good.
Yep. What's the dog's name in the Jetsons?
Frogger.
Frogger.
Astro.
Oh.
Correct. What's the dog's name in Brady Bunch?
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, that-
Frogger.
Frogger.
Is it Cookie?
Incorrect.
Nuts.
Anybody else?
Nothing.
No.
Hey, I've seen every episode of the Brady Bunch, probably 10 times, but I can't remember the dog.
It's Tiger.
Tiger. That's right. Big T, we got time for 2 more questions. Make them quick.
Perfect. Who was the captain before Captain Diaz?
Oh, I can see him, but I don't remember the name.
Justin.
Justin.
Rob Lewis.
That's it. Captain
Robert Lewis. Good friend for years. Do we got time for one more?
One more.
What was the dog's name in Frasier?
Oh, Frogger.
Frogger.
That would be Eddie.
That is correct.
All right, Big
Dang.
T, we got to check the scoreboard. Andrew, Jen, y'all got skunked, but it was a
I was
valiant
here.
effort. I made a run at the end with 4 points, but Captain Diaz took it with 6. Well done, Captain Diaz. I appreciate it. Big T, thanks for swinging by. We appreciate you. We also want to thank our guest, Kris Nilsen, College and Career Counselor at SCVi Charter School, Nancy Lantis, actress, producer, director at the Main Theater. Captain Diaz, we want to thank you and your deputies for everything that you do. Remember, friends, life is hard, but we're all here to help each other along. Be good and do well. And remember, join us next week and every Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. I am Matt Watson, and this is SCVi and I Lead Schools Eye on the Valley on your hometown station, KHTS.